I don't blame you. Maybe one day soon I'll be able to stop blaming myself too. And now we're outside. You can now speak to Tuon and Hannah to experience the side story, Walking to the Sky. The side story is something I'll be doing at the end, perhaps not right now. What do we have here? Funereal? There's a lot. I'm not sure if that is meant to be some kind of pun, but I do want to mention there's a lot of spelling mistakes in this game, which make me stumble all the time. It's sort of something that's really annoying me, especially in a text-based game. But oh well. I'll just glance past it all. Funereal. I've been thinking, said Kishan. Uh-oh, said Maddie. About the people that I've left behind, said Kishan. Well, I'm not going to see any of them again. One of them could be about to walk through that door, said Maddie. Don't taunt me with possibilities, said Kishan. You brought it up. Yeah, well, he slumped over in a funk. Death has a real finality to it, you know. Yeah, it does, said Maddie. That's death. The travel from life to death is a very one-way street for all, but a few individuals. And if you're standing here, then it's a bit late for chest paddles. I guess I'm thinking more about the fact that I'm not going to see any of my old friends again. Not as long as they're alive anyway. That does tend to be how death works, said Maddie. I hope you're not surprised. Not surprised, said Kishan. But also, I wouldn't have been surprised if that wasn't the case, you know. Like, I'm pretty sure on at least one occasion I've threatened people by saying, I will hunt you! And now that's never going to happen. Pity, said Maddie. You could have been someone's grudge ghost film. Guess that one's confined to the annals of Japanese horror cinema. Hey, said Kishan. I was wondering, do you think there's any way for me to see what's going on at my funeral? Don't, said Maddie. Alright, said Kishan. I just thought, you know, it's kind of everyone's fantasy, right? To see what people have to say about them after they've passed. Would you want to see what's going on at your own funeral? I don't think I would. Because I kind of would feel really shitty. Feeling shitty about the people I'd be leaving behind and seeing them really freaking sad. I don't know, man. No, I wouldn't want to see my own funeral, nope. I think it's none of your business what goes on at your funeral, said Maddie. Really? Said Kishan. I mean, I think it's pretty common for people to plan their own funerals. At least if they go late enough that they can see it coming. You know, I'd like to have my brother deliver a eulogy. Don't let them play any Barry Manilow songs, that sort of thing. Maddie blinked. Do you have a problem with Barry Manilow? No, I have no particular opinion on the man or his music, said Kishan. But a lot of people who are old enough to be planning their own funeral do. You can make your plans, but whatever unfolds at the funeral is up to those who attend it. Kishan blinked. What about the wishes of the dead? I thought you'd have a bit more sympathy for their interests, considering how often you interact with them. I care plenty about the dead, said Maddie. You're asking about funerals? Funerals are for the living, my friend. Kishan opened his mouth to respond, but cut himself short. I never thought about it that way. I'm not sure what to say. If you're short on words but high on energy, you can expend some of that energy by carrying this box upstairs, said Maddie, gently kicking a large cardboard box that was resting underneath the counter. There's an alcove next to the bookshelf that would make a good home for this box. Kishan picked up the box, grateful for something to do with his hands. It was heavy enough that he had to make sure to lift with his legs and not with his back, but not so heavy that he felt out of breath by the time that he reached the top of the stairs. His breathing was heavy, but not labored. It was a good feeling. Kishan set the box down at the spot Maddie had designated and sat down for a moment, waiting for his heart rate to return to normal. It felt good to feel his heart beating inside of his chest. This is how it feels to be alive, he thought to himself. Damn, I'm going to miss it. Yeah. I mean, I like the idea that you get another 24 hours to learn to deal with the idea of you being dead. and getting some chance to cross to the other side. I do like that idea. Because not everybody gets that chance. If you can feel death coming when you're getting older, I guess in a way you have the chance, but people have, you know, who have an accident or whatever, their lives abruptly end. Wait, Beth II? Hello? What is she doing outside? Beth swung her knife in a horizontal slice, and the crowd let out a boo. "Not too loud," she said. Her eyes were fixed on Kyle, but she was speaking to the crowd. "Last thing you want is someone coming down to investigate a noise complaint." She heard a few grumbles in the crowd, but they quieted themselves. Everyone understood her meaning. Playing with real knives in this manner was the kind of thing that was strictly verboten. Okay, there's definitely some German in here. Forbidden, I guess. And no one wanted to be on the wrong side of Maddie's bad mood. Even those who didn't fear death quaked in their boots a bit at the prospect of Maddie's wrath. She made a few more horizontal slices with the blade, cutting the air. It was the kind of thing people did to warm up the crowd. But Bev was unconcerned with what people thought about how she fought. Her movements with the knife were the only practice she was going to get with this knife, and she did her best to memorize the feel of the blade as it cut through the air. It was a terrible knife for a fight like this. A serrated edge. It was designed for ripping and tearing cooked meat that stood still on a plate, not fresh meat that was attached to a body prepared to evade its cuts. This was an entirely different kind of knife fight than the one before. When playing with practice knives, the goal was to strike the opponent in the torso. When playing with live knives, common etiquette dictates that stabs to the softer parts of the torso like the chest or stomach, stabs that were most likely to be immediately fatal to the normal person, were strictly against the rules. In this battle, the goal was simply to draw blood. A cut to the arm or leg would do. Kyle was the first to make a move. He tried to feint to the right before hopping back to his left foot and swinging at her. But he made such an obvious show of telegraphing the attack that Beth had stepped out of his way well before his attack came. Kyle grinned. "I guess I'm not going to outsmart you." Beth kept her steely gaze trained on Kyle's right hand, the one that held the knife. "She's focused, she's locked in here." "Well," he said, "I guess I'll just have to outspeed you." This time, he stepped straight forward with a thrust of his arm. It was the first time he had made an attack without fully committing to it by moving his feet. Beth had been afraid that he might try this. Kyle was nearly half a meter taller than her, and he had finally figured out that his longer arms gave him a tremendous advantage against Beth and her shorter reach. The stab was directed at her shoulder, and she managed to duck out of the way fast enough, but there was no time for her to offer a counterswing before Kyle pulled back and stabbed again, this time attempting to strike at where her arm had been had she not moved just a moment sooner. Beth backed up, giving Kyle space and hoping to bait him into making a bigger attack, but he seemed content continuing attempting the one tactic that had come close to working for him. As she stepped back, he stepped forward, and only after planting both feet did he go for another stab. There was nothing Beth could do but step back, giving him even more space to maneuver, all the while becoming increasingly aware of how close her back was coming to the wall behind her. Oh, she's become a trapped rat here. She's becoming a trapped rat. She needed to do something to throw him off balance and find a way to reset. She stepped to the side, forcing Kyle's next attack to take a horizontal arc to reach her. And as soon as she saw that blade coming, she swung her own blade. She heard the ting of a metal hitting metal as the two blades made contact, and the serrated edge of Kyle's knife hit the smooth edge of hers. They stayed like that for half a second as Beth kept forcing Kyle's knife to the side, and with their knives still locked, she strafed around him until her back was no longer against the wall, placing the two of them on equal footing. This would never happen in a real knife fight, Beth thought to herself. She had been saved only by the serrated edge of Kyle's knife. He grinned, apparently enjoying the moment. "Yes, Kyle, we're doing it just like in the movies. I know that when you think of a knife fight, you think of two swords or two Jedi facing each other with blades locked. It's not supposed to go like this. And right now, you're about to lose the biggest edge you had." She finally slid her knife out of the lock, releasing Kyle, who seemed completely oblivious to the fact that their footing had changed. He was so bad at this that he didn't even have an awareness for what it meant to have her with her back against the wall. But what Kyle lacked in brains, he made up for in physical size, and Beth was still left with the problem of how to get around his reach. Carl was doing too good a job of controlling the space between them. She couldn't go straight for his chest like she had before. Not that she intended to strike him in the chest, she hadn't forgotten the rules. But maybe she could feint him in doing so and stab him somewhere else. Maybe. This is actually really getting intense, man. His reach made it equally difficult to go around him. Going over him was certainly out of the question, which meant that her opening had to be from underneath. A stab to the groin would certainly be against the spirit of the rules, but she might be able to get a good shot at his legs if she got close enough to the floor. But there was no way to get under his arms from a standing position. She was going to attempt the leg strike. She would have to commit to it. She needed to create an opening. She feinted sideways towards the wall. Unlike Carl's attempt at a feint, Bess's move to the left served the dual function of placing her weight in a perfect position to push off her left foot, moving right when Carl moved left. She made as if to swing at him from the right, which prompted Carl to stab in that direction. And with his body moving left and his arm moving right, the reach of his arm was effectively reduced. Reduced enough for her to slid under it? There's only one way to find out. She bent her knees, falling forward like a sprinter leaning forward on the starting blocks. And there it was. He was twisted to the right, reflexively trying to kick at her, allowing her to lunge forward and place her knife directly in the path of his swinging legs. He was grunting. Wow! He let out a panicked yelp. No, he wasn't twisting. He was falling. And with the way her knife was pointed up, it was positioned to anchor itself directly into his belly if he fell on top of her. She reflexively tossed the knife aside, hearing it clatter to the floor as Carl's weight came down on top of her. His tumbling knee struck her directly below the chest and she felt herself falling back. Her head falling to the floor until the moment she felt the impact of the ground on the back of her head and everything went black. Oh, she almost killed the dude. And she got hit in the head for it. Well, that's what you get for playing with knives. Still have no clue who this Beth is, though. Am I looking over something or whatever? Can I get back? I can get back up. Oh. Probably have to check up with the board. Anything else, though? Hello? The door's closed, but I see you guys are in there. Could you please open up? Wait a minute. Who are those guys? Wait. So that's Maddie, that's Kishin, that's fuck, I forgot a name, you know who. Who are those? Well, I guess I'll find out soon enough. Wait, I'll check out this place a little bit more. I kind of wonder what that is about. Oh, I can't go there. Okay. Well then, I guess I've got everything. Kinda? Yeah, probably. Let me get back up here and let's read this teen transient. A teenage boy approached the counter. Shoulders slumped forward, head down, eyes on the ground, up until the moment he looked up to order a drink. He was old enough that he could have passed for a young adult with a better presentation, but the posture coupled with the oversized backpack he was wearing were a dead giveaway. Irrespective of his age, he was still just a kid. Can I get a Coke? An order befitting a kid. Yeah, I think we can manage that, said Maddie. Think fast, said Che. Maddie turned around just in time to see an aluminum can hurtling towards her. She almost got it. The can rolled back towards Che, who scooped it off the floor. He hesitated a moment before setting it on the counter. No eyes, right? Said Che. The boy nodded. No. Or, yeah. Yes to no eyes. Che cracked open the can and poured it into a waiting glass, which he then slid down the counter, pushing it gently enough that it came to a rest in front of the teenage boy. The boy grabbed the glass. Thanks, he said. He glanced around the room. If you're looking for a place to sit, there should be plenty of seats upstairs. The boy nodded and headed for the stairs, drink in hand. Plenty of seats down here too, said Maddie, turning to Che. Yeah, said Che, but I think upstairs is more to one's space. Oh, 2-1. I think I've heard that name before already today. What did you just call him? Tuan, said Che. People have names, you know. That's the problem with having regulars, said Maddie. People expect you to remember their names. Though now that I think about it, Tuan probably wouldn't mind finding out that you don't know his name. Can't have your name on Maddie's shit list if she doesn't know it. Should he be on my shit list? Said Maddie. Nah, he's harmless, said Che. Maybe a bit susceptible to peer pressure, but I think that's why he comes here. To meet with peers? To meet with people who aren't his peers, said Che. How many glum teenagers do you see around here? Too many, said Maddie. Maybe not enough, said Che. Please tell me you don't actually mean that, said Maddie. Teenagers have the highest noise to spending ratio of any demographic. Not the glum ones, said Che. And if I were a glum teenager trying to find my place in the world and trying to carve out an identity for myself, I could imagine a worse place to do it than right here. Teenagers can go be glum somewhere else, said Maddie. Whatever happened to proper teenager delinquency? Be careful what you wish for, said Che. We've been mercifully delinquent-free for quite a while now. Proper teen delinquents don't loiter in coffee shops, said Maddie. They set things on fire, spray paint alleyways, and stay out past curfew. Does the city have a curfew for minors? It should, said Maddie. Teens need to be able to break rules, and all the better if committing acts of vandalism at 11 PM gives them a 2 for 1. Maybe they should avoid delinquency and just stick to general mischief, said Che. Oh no, said Maddie. We already have plenty of mischief around here, ever since Ashley set up shop. Got it, said Che. Next time I see Tuan, I'll tell him he needs to be committing more crimes. What do you do if he actually takes your advice? He won't, said Che. Peer pressure only works if it's from a peer. Someone of my age telling him he'll be cool if he starts swiping liquor won't do much to assure him that becoming a thief is a ticket to popularity and acceptance. So find another teenager to tell him. I'll keep my eye out, said Che. Well, you could go and ask Ashley. That's another teenager. So, does the door open now for me? Yes, it does. Okay. Also, I see another one here. Billiards number 3. With Thomas. Maddie came up the stairs to see Thomas standing over a sobbing Brad. Thomas looked over at her, and she beckoned him over to the stairs. Excuse me, she said. Can you come downstairs for a moment? Thomas looked over at Brad, who was sitting on the floor, face in his hands. He nodded to Maddie and followed her downstairs, leaving Brad to sort himself out in solitude. Maddie slid behind the bar, and Thomas sat down in front of her. What are we doing here? Said Thomas. Getting you away from him, said Maddie. I think he needs a few moments alone to get it all out. Some people like to cry with others, and others like to cry alone. He doesn't strike me as the kind of person who likes to cry in front of others. Alright, said Thomas. Can I get you another beer? Said Maddie. I think I've had enough for one night, said Thomas. What did you tell him? Said Maddie. Do you need to know? Said Thomas. No, said Maddie. But I think you're struggling to figure it out yourself, and I think you might have an easier time understanding if you try to explain it to someone. I'm the only one here, so... She shrugged. You can think inside your own head, or you can think out loud. If you want the latter, I've got the ears. Thomas leaned forward, placing both elbows on the counter. I think I will have that beer, actually. You got it, said Maddie. What do you think I said to him? Said Thomas. Are you asking me to guess? Said Maddie. Yep, said Thomas. I'm guessing he's a kid who carries around a lot of painful truths, said Maddie. I'm guessing you told him a truth that turned out to be painful. I think you may be right, said Thomas. I think maybe I tell the truth too often. I've got nothing against the truth in principle, said Maddie. But not all truths have to be told. Do you suppose I ought to make up a story for him? I don't exactly understand what's going on between you two, but he obviously cares what you think of him. He wants to impress you, but I think a false compliment would sting even worse.
So, what do you think I should do? Said Thomas. The kid thinks I'm a damn hero or something.
I think sometimes it's okay to give people what they want, and not necessarily what you think they need. I get the impression that this would be his last chance to get that from you too.
You may be right, said Thomas. But both the truth and lies can hurt people. They can also build people up, making them feel better. When you tell a lie, you're the one that has control. You can lie to hurt people, or you can lie to help them. Sometimes you hurt people without meaning to, but no matter how it turns out, it's on you.
He sighed.
The truth isn't like that. You don't get to decide what the truth is. You can only say it. And whether it hurts someone or helps someone, well, that's up to them. Sometimes we hide the truth because we think it hurts.
So, which is it? Thomas shook his head.
Maybe it's neither.
Maddie poured Thomas another Guinness. Lies of omissions are lies too. Sometimes concealing the truth is just as simple as saying nothing.
Do you think you can hurt someone by staying silent?
Maddie set the glass down in front of Thomas. Do you think the truth hurts more? Thomas studied the drink in front of him.
I guess there's only one way to find out.
He got up from the bar, leaving the glass of beer undisturbed as he walked upstairs. Brad's eyes were still red when he saw Thomas walking up. He tried to focus on the pool table in front of him, doing his best to ignore the old man. It worked until Thomas put a hand on Brad's shoulder.
Brad, do you know what the difference between us is?
Brad shook his head.
You played for glory. I played for money.
Thomas paused.
You know how we're similar?
Brad shook his head.
Neither of us played to win.
I thought you said we were in it for the money, said Brad.
Yes, said Thomas. There are lots of ways to make money playing pool.
Thomas leans against the table.
I made my career on being predictable. There's a lot of money to be made if you can predict the outcome of events that seem like they're up to chance. Especially when you're the one who controls the outcome.
Brad looked at Thomas with confusion. Wait, did he commit fraud? Did he bet on the games? Well, not him exactly, maybe someone else, and through them made money on the games? Did he?
Every single year I made the finals. I was favored to win. Betting odds were in my favor. I lost every time. Do you think that I lost every one of those games because of nerves?
He shook his head.
I played pool for less than 10 years, but I managed to make enough money in those few short years to retire. Do the math, kid. That money didn't come from tournament earnings.
No, it came from betting. Brett let out a low whistle and looked at famous Thomas Walsh with new eyes.
You're not the man you think I am.
Brad shook his head. I don't believe it. The old man turned away from him, almost like he was afraid to look Brad in the eyes as he said it.
Like I said, I have no regrets. I played for money, and as it turned out, that was the right decision for me. But for you, I can't imagine anything better than playing for glory.
You're still a great pool player, said Brad. No one can take that away from you.
And you're a champ,
said Thomas.
That's something I don't have. You play from the heart. Or maybe if I'd done the same, I'd have a title to my name as well.
Thomas leaned against the table and nearly collapsed onto the floor. Brad caught him. The old man huffed a bit as he struggled to his feet.
Plus, you've been drinking those fake beers all night. Maybe I ought to take a page from your playbook next time.
Had enough pool for one night, said Brad.
Yup,
said Thomas. As they walked down the stairs, Thomas stumbled on the bottom step, and Brad caught him. Feeling okay, old man?
I won't be driving home tonight, that's for sure,
said Thomas. Brad chuckled, and the two of them walked out of the building. On the bridge out of the terminal, Brad looked at the old man, who barely seemed able to support his own weight.
There was so little left of him, and yet the man could play. "You're still an ace," said Brad. "You don't keep up that level of skill without a lot of practice." Thomas said nothing. "You kept on playing, even if you retired. You say you don't play from the heart? Bullshit." Thomas just smiled at him through weary eyes. At the end of the bridge, Brad paused at the threshold. "I guess this is the end," said Brad. "I guess so," said Thomas. They exited the terminal, and moments later, only one man remained standing outside, as the other dissipated from existence, gone to meet whatever awaited him after death. Thomas raised an arm. "Taxi!"
Wait, what? It was Brad who was dead? Oh, I didn't see that one coming.
Damn. What happened to our little friend there, Brad? He died early.
Well, I guess that was our little story. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I kind of want to go upstairs and check who those people are, because I'm not sure I recognize them. Oh, walking to the sky. These are indeed new people, but this is a side story, which I'll play at the end. I'll just go for the main story first, and at the end I'll check up with these. I promise. So yeah, if you enjoyed, please do leave behind a like, because we'll continue this in the next part. So yeah, I'll see you over there. Ciao!